Kennedy flirts with different ladies, which causes them to fight over him. These ladies eventually plot together to teach him a painful lesson. You will be amazed to find out how it all happened. Kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest Nollywood movies. If you have seen this movie before, there are twists and turns highlighted in this recap that you may have missed while watching. The movie begins with Naomi entering her cousin's room and finding her heartbroken from a relationship. Naomi consoles her and suggests she move on. She also promises to help her get a new job. Wendy, still crying, leaves the room. Meanwhile, Kennedy's girlfriend notices another lady's bag in his living room. Kennedy enters and suggests the lady leave while he gets dressed. Suddenly, his girlfriend walks into his room, sees Kennedy with the other woman, and demands that the woman leave immediately. Kennedy, however, remains nonchalant about the situation and walks away. Can you imagine this kind of man? The two ladies start exchanging words while Kennedy discusses business deals with his friend about the landed properties they plan to invest in for their company. As they talk, his friend hears the noise of the ladies fighting in Kennedy's room. He questions Kennedy about always letting women fight over him. Kennedy responds nonchalantly and irresponsibly. Guys, do you think his actions are right? His girlfriend eventually leaves, upset. After she leaves, Kennedy's friend expresses disappointment and blames him for dating a staff member of their company. That same day, Naomi responds harshly to a call from the guy who broke her heart. Meanwhile, the other lady leaves Kennedy's room with her face bruised. Kennedy talks to her, sympathizes sarcastically, and remains unapologetic even though he caused the situation. After talking to her, she leaves. Kennedy immediately begins making fun of her, laughing, which prompts his friend to reprimand his behavior. The next day, Kennedy's friend unveils a business deal with a client willing to invest in their company. They deliberate on the pros and cons of the deal. The following week, Kennedy and his friend are discussing the contract when they receive a call informing them that the company representative has arrived. As the lady, Samantha, sits down, they exchange pleasantries, and she explains that she is there to ensure her company makes the right investment. While discussing, another company representative arrives. It is Naomi. They all exchange pleasantries, and Kennedy begins presenting his company, outlining the contracts they've handled, and assuring them of his company's credibility. Later at home, Naomi asks Wendy why she hasn't eaten and insists they talk. Wendy immediately grabs her bag, attempting to leave, but Naomi confronts her about skipping all her job interviews. Frustrated, Naomi yells at Wendy, who begins crying. Naomi then tells her to stop crying because they have something to discuss. That same night, Samantha receives a phone call and has a conversation with someone. The following day, Kennedy is at the office with his friend, discussing the business deals they've lost and deliberating on their plans to develop landed properties. Samantha walks in, and Kennedy shares their plans to buy the properties, refurbish them, and sell them. Naomi then enters, and Kennedy compliments her perfume. His friend feels annoyed and leaves. Kennedy continues sharing their plans to buy properties, while the ladies act jealous, each trying to get his attention. Kennedy, fully aware of what is happening, ignores them and creates an atmosphere for competition. Guys, do you think this is the right thing to do? Drop a comment to share your thoughts. That same day, Wendy receives a call but doesn't respond. The following day, Kennedy's friend reprimands him for flirting with Naomi and Samantha, but Kennedy justifies his actions. His friend insists they focus on their business and leave any personal attachments with the ladies. Kennedy refuses and leaves. The next day, Samantha calls Kennedy, and they get along well. She insists on coming to his house to discuss some business. Without hesitation, Kennedy agrees, and Samantha feels very happy. Meanwhile, Naomi shows Wendy a picture of Kennedy, commenting on how handsome he is. Wendy replies that she doesn't know much about him and walks away. That same day, Samantha visits Kennedy and offers him an idea that could persuade her boss to invest his money in Kennedy's company immediately. She even suggests lying to her boss. Guys, do you think she is doing the right thing? Or is she simply moved by her emotions? Samantha further explains the processes involved, and Kennedy agrees to think about it before leaving to get some wine. The following day, Naomi offers Kennedy wine in his office, which he accepts. As they discuss and get along, Samantha walks in. They greet each other, but Kennedy pays more attention to Naomi. Feeling jealous, Samantha interrupts, revealing that she was at Kennedy's house the previous day. Naomi, in turn, becomes jealous as well. That same day, Kennedy's friend rebukes him for allowing Samantha into his house. Kennedy claims it was Samantha who insisted on coming. His friend warns him against bringing any of the ladies to his house, but Kennedy refuses to listen. That night, Wendy sits alone in her room, reflecting on everything she has been through. The next day, Naomi visits Kennedy at his house, and they discuss business. Naomi points out the lapses in their failed investments and assures him that she spoke to her uncle on his behalf. Kennedy appreciates her efforts and suggests they have a drink. Meanwhile, Samantha chats with someone while preparing a proposal. The following day, Kennedy receives a call from his business associate, who informs him that the properties they intended to develop have been sold to their partners. Feeling disappointed, Kennedy calls his friend for an impromptu meeting at his house. Meanwhile, Samantha gets dressed, applying her designer perfume and classic makeup. When Samantha arrives at Kennedy's house, he compliments her fragrance, which makes Naomi feel jealous. Kennedy then explains to them about the lost contract for the property they had planned to develop. Naomi asks for more details, and Kennedy explains. Samantha also inquires about other available buildings and properties, prompting Kennedy's friend to respond. The tension between Samantha and Naomi escalates as they openly compete with each other. Kennedy's friend steps in to calm the situation, but Kennedy remains silent. That night, Naomi stays awake, planning her next move to win Kennedy's heart and attention, while Samantha is also awake in her house, strategizing her next step. The following morning, Kennedy's friend expresses his concerns about the game. Kennedy is playing with Samantha and Naomi. Kennedy explains that he wants to take advantage of the situation since both ladies are interested in him and would do anything to help him secure the contract with their company. Guys, do you think he is making the right decision? After hearing Kennedy's plan, his friend disapproves, but Kennedy remains persistent. That same day, Kennedy calls Naomi and invites her to lunch. As he prepares the dining table, he hears a knock at the door. To his surprise, it's Samantha. They talk briefly before another knock interrupts them. Naomi has arrived. The three of them have lunch, but tension rises as Naomi and Samantha argue at the table, each trying to get Kennedy's attention. Kennedy enjoys the situation, pretending to play along. Guys, can you imagine the tension in their minds? That evening, Naomi works tirelessly, and Samantha also puts in a lot of effort. The following day, Kennedy's friend shares some good news. Both companies are willing to invest in their business. Kennedy, feeling triumphant, explains how he played Naomi and Samantha against each other, creating tension to win their favor. Naomi arrives and offers to prepare him a meal. Kennedy accompanies her to the kitchen and returns to his friend feeling happy. While they are talking, another knock at the door announces Samantha's arrival. She also offers him a meal. Naomi walks in on the scene, and the tension between the two women escalates. Jealousy fills the room as Kennedy and his friend excuse themselves outside to discuss the situation. While Kennedy's friend feels uneasy about it, Kennedy enjoys the attention. Kennedy then receives a call informing him that someone is interested in buying the property they plan to use. He attempts to negotiate, offering to pay $5 million. When Kennedy goes back inside, he finds Naomi and Samantha standing at the dining table, each with a dish prepared for him. He asks both women how quickly they can convince their respective investors to commit funds. Samantha suggests 7 days, while Naomi promises 3. Kennedy, impressed by Naomi's confidence, focuses on her suggestion. That same day, as Naomi gets home, Wendy tells her she wants to talk. The following day, Kennedy and his friend are at the office, worried because neither Naomi nor Samantha is answering their calls. Kennedy's friend blames him for the situation. Just then, Kennedy receives another call informing him that a deal has been terminated. Both men are deeply worried. Later that day, Kennedy's friend meets Wendy, Kennedy's ex-girlfriend. They exchange pleasantries and get along. 2 weeks later, Kennedy blames his friend for failing to identify Naomi and Samantha's true affiliations with the company they claim to represent. The two argue about the issue. That same day, Kennedy, feeling down, reflects on how he cheated on Wendy and treated her poorly, leading to the end of their relationship. The following day, Kennedy's friend reveals that Naomi and Samantha are not staff members of the company they claim to work for. It was all a lie. Kennedy blames his friend, but the friend explains that these events occurred before he was appointed to his current role. He shifts the blame back to Kennedy for causing the whole mess. Kennedy then decides he needs to find Wendy, his ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, Naomi hugs Wendy, compliments her beauty, and teases her about going on a date. The next day, Kennedy tells his friend he went looking for Wendy. His friend then calls Wendy, who suggests they come to her house the following day. When Kennedy hears this, he questions his friend for not telling him about Wendy earlier. His friend explains that he avoided the topic several times. That same day, Kennedy rehearses how he would apologize to Wendy. The following day, Kennedy and his friend visited Wendy's house. Just as Kennedy was about to speak, Naomi and Samantha entered the scene. Kennedy and his friend were shocked to see them. Wow, guys, this is truly surprising. Wendy introduced Naomi and Samantha as her cousins, explaining that they are the reason she is alive. Wow, guys, I'm sure you're amazed to hear this. Kennedy felt upset and blamed them for causing him pain. He also accused Wendy of hiring them to mess with his life. Samantha and Naomi revealed that they acted willingly and shared how they saved Wendy, who would have otherwise passed away. They explained how they planned to avenge Wendy on her behalf, with the help of another of Kennedy's girlfriends, Diana, who then boldly stepped out and confronted him. Diana unveiled how she aided their plot, leaving Kennedy disappointed. Kennedy tried to blame Wendy, but they explained how they convinced her to go along with the idea. They also revealed that the money Kennedy had sent went directly into their accounts. When Kennedy threatened them, they asked him to leave. To add to Kennedy's dismay, his friend refused to go with him, confessing that he had feelings for Wendy. Kennedy, feeling utterly disappointed, left as the ladies flirted with him and mocked him on his way out. After he left, everyone got along and enjoyed the moment. So, guys, I believe you enjoyed this movie. Kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest Nollywood movies.